So here we are. Today is the 32nd class of web technology. Uh, in the yesterday's class, when we had some students who had come to the college, I had discussed about the term works, and then I explained to them exactly how to execute that. And then along with that, it was also an online class. So I hope all those who were online understood exactly how to type the programs. And we discussed six term works altogether, term work number 1 to term work number 6. I thought that I would continue again today with term work number 7 till 10. But then I did not see any students coming today. So I said, okay, fine, no problem. So you can just plan your visit to the college. I'll tell you, everybody, please see to it that things has to become normal and slowly start coming to the college. Admissions are going on, so that's why Professor Siddharth is busy. Once he becomes free from there, he will also come here and start taking the machine learning lab. As it is, you must have realized already that web lab is not very difficult. The first five programs, at least you can do it in your laptop immediately, and the remaining six, for that you have to install WAMP server, which you can download from the internet and you can start using. Otherwise, you can ask me, please, I will upload to you the exe file. You can download and start using it. So today's class, let me start with the theoretical part again. In the last class of theory, I had explained to you about server-side scripting with PHP. I gave you introduction to what is PHP, how PHP programs are executed and all that. Then we have studied all this, okay, how to write the output. We use the echo command to display something on the browser. Okay, we can write it in brackets or we can write it directly without the brackets also, fine, no problem. And then further, echo is not the only command which is used for displaying something. We can also use the print function. We can use the print function to display something on the browser. If I want to concatenate two strings, I use the dot operator. So if I say echo, if I send this string first and then the dot operator and then some variable name, dot operator again, then there is a space. So finally understand that the dot operator is used for concatenating strings in PHP. Then I can echo images, I can echo text, I can echo strings, I can echo any HTML tag which will go and get displayed on the browser. Please remember that. After the echo command, yeah, printf function was also there. Printf function can also be used to display something on the browser. So please remember that. Okay, we have done all this already. Then we started with program control. In program control, we first saw the if else condition. We understood the if else condition, and in if else condition it is same as that of any programming language. We write if, then in the bracket we write down the condition, and if the condition is true, then the if block will get executed, which is written in the flower brackets here. Whatever code you have written in the flower brackets, one line of code or two lines of code or three lines of code will get executed. If the condition is false, then the else block will get executed. I can similarly have else if statement also, where I can have put one more condition here, and then if the condition is true, then this block will get executed. So this is same as that of C programming language or any programming language where you have studied the if, else if, and the else statement. Only thing to remember here is that if you have multiple statements, you have to write it between the flower brackets. That is important to understand. After this, we studied the other type of statements. Have a look at this. You all know that the PHP code starts like this. We write this delimiter, we write the question mark PHP followed by the if condition. And I close the PHP here and then I write some block of HTML code. Okay, so from here to here is HTML code. And after that, again, I start a PHP tag and then I write the else block and then I close the PHP tag and then I write some HTML code here directly. And then finally, I again start PHP and close the if block. So please understand that this part of HTML will be executed. This part of HTML will be executed only when the condition is true, because it is written in the if block. And if this condition is false, remember this block will get executed. This will not get executed. The if block will not get executed. So not only PHP code can be executed in the if block, you can also write some HTML which you want to send to the browser or display on the browser in case the condition is true. Now, echo statement, if else, after the if else statement comes the switch case statement. Switch case statement, you know that we take an expression here, we check the expression. If the value of this expression is PT, then this part will get executed. If the value of this expression is SC, this part will get executed. If the value of this expression is none of these, then the default block will get executed. So this is the switch case statement, which I had asked you people just go through. And this is similar to this if block. So this if block and this are same. So some people will be comfortable with the if block, so they will use the if block. Some people will be comfortable with the switch case, so this is what they will use. Okay, so let us go further. And I will tell you from examinations point of view, they will ask you a question like this. With the help of an example program, explain the if-else block and the switch case statement. So you have to explain that in your own words and you have to write your own example. Going on further comes in the control statement, we are learning the loop statements. We have the while loop and the do while loop. The while loop and the do while loop. You know that the while loop, we write a condition, and then as long as the condition is true, the body of the while loop will get executed. The moment the condition becomes false, the execution of the body will stop, and then the control will come out of the body. In case of while loop, the condition is checked first and then the body is executed. In case of do while, the body is executed first and then the condition is checked. Which means that in a while loop, there are chances that the body of the loop may not get executed at least once. Okay. If first only the condition is false, the body of the while loop will never get executed. Even once it will not get executed. But in case of a do while loop, the body is executed first and then the condition is checked. So the moment the control comes here, it will execute this particular block of code and then it will check the condition. If at this point of time the condition is false, it will not go back again and execute the do block. It will go to the next line and stop executing the do while loop. So in these two cases, the difference is in the while loop, the condition is checked first and then the body is executed. So chances are that the body may not get executed even once. But in case of a do while loop, the body is executed first and then the condition is checked. So in the process, the body will get executed at least once. We have studied this in C programming, so that's why I'm just zooming through. Then we have the for loop for variable name is equals to 0 till the variable is less than 10, variable plus plus, and then you execute the body of the for loop. So starting from 0 till the value of count becomes 10, every time the value of count will get incremented by 1 and the body of the loop is executed. Okay, so this is how the for loop works. I have done this, so that's why I'm zooming through. Now, which are the alternate syntaxes for the control statements? All this time, what you saw that they were flower brackets put, but I can always put a colon also. If I have a condition, if this condition is true, then the if block will start not with a flower bracket, but it will start with a colon. And then all this will come into the if block. All this will come into the if block. Then comes the else block and then followed by a colon. Now, instead of the flower brackets, I'm using a colon. And then finally, how do I say that this is the end of the if? We write end if. We write end if. This is alternate to using flower brackets. So they may ask you in the examination, what is the alternate technique to the if block? So you can write this if block with a colon. So if condition and then there is a colon here. Remember that. Okay, but the one which is very commonly used in PHP is those flower brackets only. In fact, I also never use this colons. I use always, I'm comfortable with flower bracket, so I start my if block with a flower bracket and I close it with a flower bracket. Then I write the else block, start a flower bracket and then end with a flower bracket. We are all comfortable with that. Now going on further comes the include statement. Why do we use the include statement? Is if I have multiple, if I have PHP files, okay, and if PHP files there is a lot of code. If there is a code written in some PHP file, let us say there is a PHP file called as index.php, and there is some code inside this PHP file. Okay, there is some code in this PHP file. And there is another PHP file called as product.php, which is a separate file, which is written separately. And there is some PHP code in that product.php file. Similarly, there is one more PHP file called as about.php. There is some code. So these are all three different types of files. These are three different types of files, separately written. Some code is there of PHP inside this. Some code is there of PHP inside this. And in about.php also there is some code of PHP. Now I want to put all this into a different file. I want to put this into a fourth file. All this code that is written here, here. So you will say that I can copy the content of this file, copy that, paste it here, copy that, paste it here, copy that, paste it here, and then make it as a single file. Instead of that, you can always use the include function. You can use the include directive of PHP to include the content of this code into this file without copying the entire code into this, you can directly include it by using the include function. How do we do that? It's quite simple. We simply say include at the beginning of the file. We say this when we start writing the fourth file. No, at the beginning of that we write this include some file.php, include some file.php, include once some file.php, require some file.php, and require once some file.php. Now there is a difference between include and include once. What is the difference between include and include once is that if let us say this include file is there, okay, if I include it at the beginning of the file, again let us say I say include some file.php, if I write this statement in my file two times this file will get included in my fourth file. If there are three files already and I want to include them in the fourth file, if I write include some file.php, it will be included. But again, let us say in the program, again, if I write this statement include.file, this file will be added to the file two times. Okay. Now that can create a lot of confusion, that can create a lot of errors, warnings. So that's why what we do is we use something called as include once. If I write include once some file.php and further in my program, if there is include.some file, if there is once again include.some file, finally include once will include the file only once. Okay, so it is always better to use include once some file.php syntax instead of using include some file.php. Now, what is the difference between include and require? Include and require. Now, see, you can include a file, some file.php. You can include some file called as some file.php. What will this do? It will include the code of this file into the new file that is being created. Now, if this file exists, some file.php, if it is there, it is present, then there is no problem. The code of this file will be included in the new file. But what if this file is not present? It does not exist. In that case, the include function, if you write include some file.php, if this file exists, then no problem, it will be included. If this file does not exist, remember the include function will display you a warning message. It will display you a warning message, but the remaining part of the file will get executed. It will continue to execute the remaining part of the new file. If I have a new file in which I have written include some file.php, some file.php should be present. If it is present, no problem, this will be included. But if this file is not present, if it is absent, in the sense if it does not exist, or maybe the name of the file is some file.php, but you have written SOMFILE, you have forgotten this E to write. So obviously this file does not exist if you have made a spelling mistake in the file name. In that case, the include function will display you a warning message and it will continue to execute the code that is there in the new file. But if you write require some file.php, if this file is present, if this file exists, then no problem. It will be included and the new file will get executed without any problems. But if some file.php does not exist, then require the directive or the required statement will throw an error and it will not continue to execute the remaining part of the new file. It will not execute the remaining part of the file. It will stop execution. The moment it says that this file does not exist, the execution will stop there only. It will not continue to execute the remaining part of the file. So that is the difference between include and require. Okay, and include once and include difference, require and require once also is the same thing. Require will add the file multiple times if this statement is written many times in the file, but require once will add this file only once to the program. So I hope this is clear. In the examination, they will ask you a question. They will ask you a question as to explain the include and the required statements. What is the difference between the two? So you have to write down the difference. So the difference and all that is explained over there. You can understand that. Next comes functions. In the functions, this is the new thing that we are going to start today. What are functions? You all know functions are a set of statements that is written separately, and whenever you want to execute those set of statements, you just call it by its name. In C programming, we have the concept of functions. In Python, we have the concept of functions. Then in C, C++, Java, we have the concept of functions. Now let us learn in PHP how to write a function. The concept of functions in PHP is also the same. We write it, give it some name, and then we can pass parameters. We can return back something from the function and all that. So the syntax of writing a function is quite simple. We use the function keyword. Function, function, all small, followed by the name of the function, followed by the name of the function, and then the parameter list. If the function takes parameters, you write it there. If the function do not take parameters, you simply open the parenthesis and you close the parenthesis. Then the flower bracket will start indicating the start of the function body. Then you write the body of the function and then you close the closing bracket, which indicates the end of the body of the function. Quite simple. One thing to observe here is that the function doesn't have a return type. You don't mention the return type here. When you write the parameters also, you don't write the data type of the parameter. We will see those examples later on. So two things that you have observed here is that the function does not have a return type. The function does, if it takes parameters, the parameters do not have data types. Return, we use the return keyword to return something from the function. Now let us go further and try to understand this. I've written a function here in which I've written function function followed by the name of the function, no parameters, open the bracket, and then I use the echo function to display the footer, and then I close the function. So this is a function which will give me back a footer. So simply if I want to display all this on my web page, I just call output footer menu. So automatically it will display all this. I don't have to type this again and again wherever it is required. Calling a function, how do we call a function? Simply call a function by its name. So if you have written a function called as get nice time, if you look at this, what is the name of this function? It is get nice time. And then what will it return is it uses the function, it uses the date function, it uses the date built-in function, and it will determine the hour, seconds, some time format it will take, and then it will return you back the time. It will return you back the time. This function, whenever you call the function get nice time, it will give you back the current time of the server. So how do we call it? I call it like this, get nice time, and then I write the name of a variable here, $output is equals to get nice time. Why? Because this function get nice time is going to return me something, so I have to capture it in a variable. So I write variable name is equals to get nice time, and then I can say echo $output, so it will display me the current server time. Here you can see, if the function doesn't return a value, you can just call the function like this, output footer menu. Now look at this function here, output footer menu. This function is not returning anything. So that's why you can call the function directly like this without having to write a name of a variable here. Dollar something is equals to, you don't say, because this function is not returning anything. Now since this function is not returning anything, I call it by its name directly. Whereas look at this function, get nice time, it is returning a time to me. So that's why I have to write some variable is equals to the name of the function which is returning me the value. This is how we call the function. Next comes the parameters. How to pass parameters to the function? Simple, like this. Name of the function, the keyword function, name of the function, and then you pass the parameter, $show seconds, $show seconds. So there is some parameter that has to be passed. There is some parameter that has to be passed to the function. And what the function does with the parameter, let us see. If show seconds, if the parameter that I'm passing to the function, if it is equals to true, then return HIS, else return H and I, hours and minutes and seconds, if show seconds is equals to true. If show seconds is equals to false, then return only the hour and the minutes. So basically this is some logic written here where I am passing one parameter to the function show seconds, and this is a Boolean value. So whenever anybody calls this function get nice time, they will pass either true or false here. They will either pass true or false. If they pass true, then the time that will be given back to you will be hour, minutes, and seconds. But if the value that is passed is false to the function while calling the function, then you will get back from the function only hour and minutes. You can either pass a true or false here, or you can pass 1 or 0. 1 means true, 0 means false. So you can see here. Get nice time, I pass 1. 1 means true. So it will display, this will print seconds. Get nice time 0, if I pass, this will not print seconds. So this is how we call it. Either pass 0 or 1. Or you can pass even true or false, because the condition that you're checking here is true or false. Okay, I hope you understood how to pass parameters. See, one thing you observe here is that I don't write the data type of the parameter. Well, whereas in other programming languages, whenever we write a function, we write function, name of the function, and then whenever we write a parameter, we write the data type first, int x comma int y. But here only the name of the parameter. Now, all these examples that we are seeing, the name of the parameters, the name of the variables that is declared above, they all start with a dollar symbol. Remember, in PHP, it is important to declare a variable which starts with a dollar symbol. All variables in PHP starts with a dollar. You cannot have a variable called as sum, sum sum. It should be called as dollar sum. If you have a variable called as average, you cannot call it as simply avg or avg av rage average. You have to prefix the name of the variable with a dollar sign, so it has to be dollar average or dollar avg dollar sum, like that. So all variables should start with a dollar. That is very, very important in PHP. Okay, let us go further and see what is the meaning of parameter default values. Parameter default values. Now you can write a function like this: function get nice time, and function get nice time, and then the parameter is equals to 1, is equals to 1. You can assign it some value. You can assign it some value. So what I am doing here is that in the function declaration only, I say show seconds, dollar show seconds is equals to 1. I'm initializing it to 1. This is called as the default value of the parameter. This is called as the default value of the parameter. What it means is whoever calls the function get nice time, if they pass a parameter to the function, consider that parameter. If suppose somebody calls the function without passing any parameter, then consider 1 as the default parameter. That is what is the meaning of, this is what is the meaning of default parameters. So we write the name of the function followed by the parameter is equals to assign it some value which you want to be the default value of this parameter in case people or the caller calls the function without a parameter. Now look at this. What is the default parameter? It is 1. So if I don't pass any parameter while calling the function, then the default parameter will be 1, and it will return me the time with seconds. With seconds. Okay. Now let us go further and see this. So now if you were to call the function with no values, no parameters, the show seconds parameter would take on the default value which we have set to 1, and the return string with seconds, and then it will return it with seconds. So this is the meaning of the default parameter. If I pass any parameters, then it will consider the value that you have passed. If you don't pass any parameter, the default parameter will be considered. Okay, so this is the meaning of parameter default values. Then you know that we can pass parameters to a function by value and by reference. What is the meaning of passing value by parameter? By passing parameters by value. What is the meaning of passed by value? The meaning of passed by value is quite simple. If you pass a parameter by value, the value of the original variable will not change. Let us look at this with an example. This is an example of passing parameter by value. Now look at this. I have a function here called as change parameter, to which I am passing an argument that is arg. And then in the function, what I am doing is I am incrementing the value of the argument by 300. So whatever value I pass here, that value is getting incremented by 300. So if this parameter is 20, then at the end of the function, the value of this argument will be 320. So whatever value I'm passing, the value is getting incremented by 300. And then I'm displaying the value of argument here in the function only. Now look at this. I declare a variable here called as initial, and I initialize it to 15. I display the value of initial. So immediately after this, if I display, the value of initial will be 15. Then I call the function change parameter, and I pass $initial. I pass $initial. Okay, this parameter, I pass it to the function. So 15 is now passed. It gets copied into arg. Then arg will be 300 plus 15. It will be 315. So it will display the value of arg as 315. After that, after I have called the function, do you think calling this function has made any changes to $initial value? What is the value of dollar initial? Dollar initial is equals to 15. Dollar initial is equals to 15. I even displayed that value. Then I called the function. After I have called the function, do you think that calling this function, the function has made any change to this variable dollar initial? If I want to see that, then after this call of the function, I will display the value of initial and see what is the output. Now remember, when I execute this program, it will display me initial is equals to 15. Here, this particular statement here, this particular statement will display me initial 15 because initial is there as it is, and the value of dollar initial will be displayed, that is 15. Change parameter, what will this do? It will display me arg is 315 because here you can see arg is 350. Then after that, when I display the value of 15 once again, a value of initial once again after function call, the value of initial is still 15. It has not changed to 315. It has not changed to 315. Why? Because when I call the function by passing the parameter by value, whatever changes is done to this argument in the function will not be reflected to the parameter that I passed to the function. So after the call of the function, when I display the value of initial, it will still be 15 only because it is initialized to 15 here. Okay. Now let us see what is pass by reference. Pass by reference, first of all, there is a little change in the syntax. We write it like this: function, name of the function. Then when we pass the parameter, we add a ampersand. We add an ampersand before the name of the parameter. Ampersand, then $arg we write. Now, what is the value of initial? It is 15. Then I display the value of initial. Then I call the function. I call the function change parameter and I pass the initial variable. Now remember, now I've written an and symbol here which has made a big difference. What I'm doing now is whatever parameter I'm passing to the function change parameter will be passed to the function with reference, not with value. So now whatever change I do to $arg, whatever changes I do to $arg will be reflected into the variable $initial. Will be reflected into $initial. So if I change arg value to 300 plus whatever is the value previously sent to it, then automatically $initial will also change. Okay. Now what will happen? It will display me 15 here because initially it is initialized to 15. Then after I call the function, the value of argument is 315 because it will display this. And after coming back, after calling this function, it has made changes to $initial variable also. So that's why when you display $initial, it will display 315, but not only 15. On the top here, you can see that it displays only 15, but here it displays you 315. Why? Because it is passed by reference. Any changes you do to this argument will be reflected into the variable that is passed to the function. So initial will also be changed. I hope this is clear. And the same concept we have studied in other programming languages also: C, C++, Java, Python. Now, yeah, this is how the output and all that. Variable scope within the function. This is the next topic that we will study. What is the meaning of variable scope within the function? You all know that if you declare a variable inside a function, it will have local scope. If you declare any variable outside the function, it will have a global scope. Let us directly look at an example. I have a variable here called as $count, and I've said is equal to 56. Okay, in PHP there is a little difference in global scope and local scope. If I declare any variable inside the function, you know it has got local scope. I cannot use it outside the function. But here, have a look at this. I declare a variable outside the function, $count, and I initialize it to 56. I initialize it to 56. Then I declare a function called as test scope, and then inside the function I will echo $count. I will display the value of $count. Okay. So according to global scope and local scope, you know that when I echo $count, it should display me the value of this variable because this is outside the function, and $count, I should be able to access it inside the function. But when I display the value of $count, remember it will display you a 0 because $count will be treated as a new variable, not the global variable. Remember that. Okay. And after this function, outside the function, if I say echo $count, it will definitely display me 56 because it is initialized to 56. So outside the function, I am able to use dollar count, value is coming properly, but when I'm using dollar count inside the function, it is displaying me as 0. And sometimes it may even uh, result in a warning or an error saying that dollar count is not declared or something like that. This is what happens in PHP. So a variable which is declared outside the function is not visible or it is not accessible inside the function unless you use the global keyword. Okay, now this is how we have to use a global keyword. We declare a variable dollar count outside the function, initialize it with a value 56, and then in the function I write down global dollar count. I have to declare this inside the function and say if I'm using dollar count inside this function, it is global. So I write global followed by the name of the variable and put a semicolon. Now if I say echo count, it will display me 56 because count will be now considered to be the global variable. So I have to write global count, and then when I display the value of count, it will be displayed as 56. Outside the function also, if I say echo count, it will display me 56. So the global keyword is used in a function to indicate the variable is the global variable. So this dollar count that is there in the function is the global variable. Global means which is declared outside the function. The global keyword is used for that. That's it. This is the end of the chapter where we have studied the basic programming concepts of PHP. We have studied declaring variables. We have studied about we have studied about a simple PHP programming concepts like if condition, if else condition, the switch case statement, the while loop, the for loop, the do while loop, how to write functions, all that we have studied in this chapter here. Okay, so if I go back to my syllabus, you can see that we have more or less completed. The third module. We started with JavaScript here. We learned the JavaScript syntax. We learned about the DOM, document object model. Then we studied about the JavaScript events. We learned forms, how to handle forms in JavaScript, how to do validation of forms in JavaScript. Then introduction to server-side development with PHP we started with PHP, learned what is server-side scripting. Then we learned about PHP, programs, controls, and functions. So this is the end of chapter module number 3. Now we will be starting with module number 4. Okay, that I will be doing it in the next class. So in the next class, we will be starting with module number 4, and so this is the questions which are there. These are some of the questions that you people should try to answer. Some hands-on assignments are also there. So you need not worry about all this references. And then comes the chapter number 9, where we are going to study PHP arrays and super global. PHP arrays and super global. So that is the 4th module, PHP arrays and super global. Then arrays, the get and the post super global arrays, the server array, how to handle files, how to read, write files. Then we will have to learn PHP classes and objects, object-oriented overview, classes and objects in PHP. Then error handling and validation, what are errors and exceptions, PHP error reporting, PHP error and exception handling. So basically 4th module is completely PHP. We are going to learn about arrays in PHP, super global arrays of PHP. We are going to more or less learn about how to write to files in PHP. Then of course, object oriented concepts of PHP, how to declare classes, how to make objects of a class. Then we will learn about error handling, exception handling in PHP. Okay, so that will be the end of the 4th module. So remember that 4th module is completely based on PHP, super global arrays and all that. Okay. 5th module, then of course, advanced concepts of web programming is there in the 5th module, where we will be learning Ajax, jQuery, then we will be learning about MVC framework, XML processing, JSON, all that. Okay, so this is what we will be doing in the 5th module. So I hope this is clear, all of you. We will stop today.